I'm here in Medjugorje and I'm with, what's your name?
Robert.
Robert, where are you from?
I'm from Arizona.
Arizona, where about in Arizona?
I live in a little town called Rimrock, which is about 10 miles east of Sedona, which is known for the red rocks.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful place.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And you said first time here in Medjugorje?
It's my first time. I'm a Eucharistic minister at the Chapel of the Holy Cross. And this is interesting because a few years ago I didn't know what Medjugorje was. And this is crazy, but I'll tell you. So
we'd love to hear it.
a friend of mine in Sedona said there's a woman who lives in Cottonwood, Arizona, who has a reliquary in her home, and she has relics of all 12 apostles, and she told me her name. Her name is Rose, and she's from Little Italy and New York City and all this stuff. And one day I'm in Walmart in the United States, and I meet the woman, Rose. I meet Rose that has all these relics. And she invited me to her home for lunch. And she's the one who told me about Medjugorje, because I didn't know what Medjugorje was. And I had listened to a couple of naysayers, you know, like Father Malachi Martin and a few other people. I thought, I'm not interested. Then last year, I read a book by this guy. His name is Xavier Arral, or Ariel. He's a Frenchman, and it's a compilation of all the Marian apparitions going back all the way to La Salette. And in one of his chapters, he says, I think it was the Fatima chapter, he says, if you wish that you could have been at Fatima, then you need to get on a plane and go to Medjugorje.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is that after I paid my deposit, all these little miracles started happening in my life. The first one, my pastor approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in being a Eucharistic minister. That was the first one. Yeah. Which means I could no longer do a rotating confession every week, you know. I had to try to really walk the walk and stay in a state of grace, because I have to wear vestments on the altar with the priest. So I'm like, okay, I got to take my faith much more seriously now. And then the second thing, I was in an inappropriate relationship at the time. And my partner, she ended the relationship, not me. She ended it because she realized, I think, that, oh, this guy is becoming some sort of religious fanatic. You know.
She saw that.
Yeah, because I on Fridays in particular, I didn't want to go on a date with her. I wanted to just go to church and go home. And she didn't understand that. So that was the second little miracle that happened, you know, before I came here. And then while here, my first day I spent by myself, and I just walked around, and I didn't know the schedule, which I'll go back a little bit. I didn't even know where I'd be staying. When I paid my deposit, I didn't know that this was an apparition week. I didn't know that. Okay? I didn't know that I'd be staying at Yakov's house. I didn't know that I get to have breakfast with Mariana. I didn't know any of this. I won't say what we say in American English, but I threw something to the wind and just paid my money, and I came here, you see.
That's what God wants, trust.
Yeah. So,
abandonment, no?
My first impression of the town, when I entered the church that first evening on Tuesday night, it was right during the rosary before Mass, for the Croatian Mass. In my lifetime in the United States, I've never seen a church that crowded when it wasn't Christmas or Easter.
Yeah, same in Germany.
And the reverence, the passion that these people have for our faith. At that moment, it dawned on me, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what built all these incredible cathedrals 1,000 years ago throughout Europe. This. So, yeah.
Wow, what a story. What a story. And you said you go to confession, right?
I've been going more frequently during my week here, you know, with every little venial sin. Usually back home, I don't go to confession as often. If I do a mortal sin, then I go, see? But otherwise, but here it's like any little thought that I think, oh, I shouldn't have been thinking about that. Oh, why did I say that? Then I've been going more often. You know.
And what would you tell people, like, you know, maybe they listen to this now, they say, wow, this is inspiring. I want to go to confession, but I'm scared the priest. What will he think of me when I tell him this stuff? 20 years I didn't go. What would you tell them? What is the beauty of confession? How should they approach the sacrament or confession?
First of all, there's nothing, especially if you go to an older priest, there is nothing that you can say that they haven't heard. First of all. It's not like you're unique. You're the only one who's done that. Secondly, it's a huge weight lifted from you. And finally, you know, you need to do that to really be able to accept the Eucharist with a pure heart. I think there are too many Americans that they make excuses. Well, I'll just say an act of contrition, or once a month is okay, or whatever. But there's another saying in American English, you know, make it till you break it. And that's been the process for me. It wasn't overnight. You know, it wasn't overnight. It's been a process, and I've just been plugging away at it until I feel like right now I'm at a very good place. Doesn't mean I'm going to stay here. I'm certainly not perfect, far from it.
Like me.
You know, I was a real sinner, let me tell you.
What changed?
Hollywood, the Hollywood thing.
You were in Hollywood? Yeah.
I was a producer at Clear Channel, a radio producer, and I worked as a roadie when I was much younger. I used to tour with rock groups and all that sort of thing. And yeah, I was just immersed in that whole environment, and it's a very sinful environment. And it wasn't making me happy, that's for sure.
What a story.
Yeah, it wasn't making me happy.
So from Hollywood to Catholic Church, kind of, no?
From Hollywood to Medjugorje, yeah.
From Hollywood to Medjugorje.
Yeah.
And you pray the rosary now?
Now my regimen is, I pray the rosary every morning of my life. I go for a 1-mile walk, and I recite the rosary through my neighborhood. Most of my neighbors are evangelical Christians. Like, oh, there goes that crazy Catholic guy with those beads. I don't care what they think. That's what I need to do, and I think I'm helping them. I think I'm helping our whole neighborhood, see? And then I also try, I'm not always succeed at this, but I try to recite the Divine Mercy Chaplet every day at 3 o'clock. And then very recently, in the last 3 weeks or so, I got the application for the Auxilium Christianorum, which is an application promoted by Father Ripperger in the United States.
Beautiful priest.
Yes, and I got that application on my phone, and now I'm trying to recite that every afternoon or late night. I have not been doing it while in Medjugorje. I've been sometimes praying 4 rosaries a day, 2 masses a day. There's only so much time, you know, but that's my regimen right now.
And you like the rosary? Why do you pray it? Why do you like the rosary?
The rosary works. The rosary works. My older son was I felt like he was trapped in a really nasty relationship for a long time. And he's a confirmed Catholic, but he hadn't been to Mass in a decade. Hadn't been to confession in over a decade. And for 2 years, I said the rosary every morning with the intention for my son to come back to the faith. And through circumstances outside of all of our control, he did. And that's a miracle for me. I didn't think he would, you know. He's got more, we all have more work to do, you know. But yeah, that was incredible. That was incredible.
That's Our Lady working, huh?
I believe so.
In action.
And if I'm put into a situation where I'm a weak man, you know, I'm weak.
Me too.
And if I need to meet up with old friends, or I have to go on a business trip to Las Vegas or something, I pray the rosary. And I also do impromptu prayers to Our Lady, saying, Mother, I'm a weak man. I need your help. I'm going into a bad situation, and I'm weak. So please protect me from even having to make those hard choices. And wow, it's like somebody had a magic wand, you know?
And
it's really incredible.
Yeah, it is. And you know, a lot of people in the world think God the Father is an old white man with a beard who is very angry and waits for that we make a fault and he sends us to hell. But it's not true. How is God the Father?
Well, you know, I think a lot of folks because they're angry with their own fathers. You know, they take it out on God the Father. And where I live in Arizona, New Age is very popular.
Sedona, high
Right, it's very popular, you know, and I know a lot of people who love New Age practices. And they say, well, there's no female. Well, in Catholicism, there is a woman.
Just behind you on the
Yeah,
left.
we've got a woman.
Yep.
You know, and I hear these people say, oh, but I want the divine feminine, you know. I'm like, you want, it's right under your nose in the Catholic Church, you want divine feminine, come to Catholicism. We have divine feminine for you, you know. So, yeah, so the Father, for me, can be scary at times. In fact,
But he isn't.
yeah,
No.
well, it's my own struggle. Like, for instance, when I have dreams, I've dreamt of Mary, you know, I feel like she's come to me in my dreams. I know in my heart she has.
Absolutely.
I can't say the same thing about Jesus. And one of my friends asked me why. They said, how come you never dream about Jesus, or you never have visions of Jesus and this and that? I don't feel that I'm worthy to see him. I'm not worthy to lick his feet. Maybe later in life I will be. Maybe. You know. But right now I'm not. But I feel safe coming to Mary.
And I think this is a beautiful explanation why Mary is in the Catholic faith. You know, a lot of people in this channel say, why Mary? I think you explained it, because it's a way, it's one way to Jesus, you know. He knows that we are human conditions, we have a mother, and that humans can come through mother to the manhood, no? Or Jesus, or the Father, no? Beautiful how you said it. And can you tell like people what Jesus changed in your life, how he worked in your life, what he did for you?
Jesus has not given up on me. And Jesus, lately I needed to hear some tough love. And I heard that this week through a very holy priest. A very holy priest. I won't mention his name. And he was like, you've been given so many gifts and so many graces, and yet you occasionally still choose sin. Just stop doing it. Just stop, you know. So I probably needed to hear that.
You know, that was Christ through a saintly priest, no?
Yeah.
And what would you tell at the end? Why is Medjugorje so special? Why should people come here?
This is just my opinion now. Now that I've experienced a week here. In my opinion, Medjugorje is the spiritual epicenter of the Catholic faith on this planet. Whereas the Vatican is the administrative capital. I believe this is the spirit capital of Catholicism today in the world.
Here, Medjugorje. Why would you say that?
Because I feel it.
You can feel it.
I feel it. I spoke to a deacon the other night. We had dinner. And I made an analogy with the American military, because I come from a military family. And I said, you know, just like 10 to 15% of soldiers, recruits, are qualified to go on to maybe attempt to be special forces, SEALs, Rangers, airborne. I believe like we have that 10 to 15% here at Medjugorje. And this deacon said to me, I would go even farther than that. He says, I think it's 2% that are called to come here.
Wow, unbelievable. So beautiful with that. And you know, you have been in the world, you know, you saw a lot of stuff. A lot of people look for vocation here in Medjugorje. You as a father and being in the world, seeing Hollywood, being, you know, where you have been in the world, what would you tell young people? How can they find their vocation? Also, how can they find happiness, maybe, you know?
A lot of discernment. And what that means is it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be formally through a vocational director, but that's a good thing to do, to go speak to a vocational director in your diocese and be assigned to a priest in your diocese to shadow them. What does their life look like? What are their duties? And a lot of prayer and meditation. And there will be answers. You know, God will give them signs as, or you should, like right now, I'm discerning, even though I'm not young, I don't have a calling like that. But I believe that perhaps a sacramental marriage may be in my future. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know, but those are some of the answers this week. You know, there's a process, and I've met many young men and women here this week that just have a light around them. You know, and this one young man from Iowa. I asked him, I said, "Are you a seminarian?" He said, "No, but you're like the third person who's asked me that." So see, maybe the Lord is using me to plant a seed with him along with other people. Maybe, I don't know.
And also, can you also say, like, through suffering you came closer to God? A lot of people tell me through suffering they came much closer. It's a contradiction.
You know,
it seems a contradiction.
I had surgery 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago now. And it was very painful. And there were a couple complications. But I didn't know, should I have the surgery done now or should I wait till after my trip, this sort of thing. And the doctors, "Oh, you should be feeling great in a week." Well, I had complications which were unforeseen. And I suffered before I came on this trip, you know, with abdominal pain and so forth. So I followed the guidelines and I gave it up to the Lord. And please allow my suffering to help somebody right now at this moment, you know, because this isn't fun.
Yeah, not at all.
Suffering's not fun. So,
and a nice reflection what we did is the suffering, to offer it up. No? That's what we say in the Catholic faith, offer it up with Jesus to help. No? And at the end, why would you tell people, why should they come here to Medjugorje? What would you tell them?
If you're Catholic and you have friends or family that are maybe Christmas, Easter Catholics, bring them here. If you are confused about whether or not you want to pursue a vocation, then come here. If you are overwhelmed in the city, living in the West with all the bombardment we're going through right now, where good is bad and bad is good and the world's upside down, and then come here, because in my opinion, the last week has been a respite from all that. You know, it's, you can speak freely about what you believe. And people don't think you're crazy. You know, you don't have to worry about what you're saying. Walking through a minefield of political correctness. You know.
And at the end, last one, because so beautiful. What is the beauty for you about our Catholic faith?
Okay. If I were God, and there's this beautiful planet that I created with these creatures who are part of my identity, who have the potential of eternal life, and they're fallen. They're fallen. This is how I came, I'm a revert. This is how I came back, because I logically went through the process. What would it look like to get people to get back on track? And the Catholicism, the catechism, is the closest thing for me through logical, critical thinking on how we get out of the mess we're in. It's the prescription for this troubled planet. And I truly believe that. I believe that with every ounce of who I am.
And at the end, do you want to say, do you have something on the heart? Maybe you want to tell more?
No, I'm glad I ran into you, Tom. I love your videos. I've watched you for about 6 months or so.
Thank you.
I had a thought behind me here, somewhere in the recesses of my brain. I wonder if I'm going to meet Tom, you know, and there you are. And that's Tom.
That's divine providence.
That's Tom,
you know?
yeah.
And it's also biblical. And the delight, I want to give you the delight of your heart, you know, if your heart wishes. That's what Our Lady says here. Pray from the heart. Heart wishes are fulfilled by God if they are in the divine will, no? Thank you so much for that interview.
It's been a pleasure.
Me too. Yeah. Wow, what an interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.